So what happens, Bruce, if you continue to do that, I don't know what we can do about it, but, you know, except pay the bill. But you're being asked not to do that. If you have, you know, I gave you the legal stuff of the attorney, you know, it's not that it's a big secret. So it's rare we ever call him, but again, on that issue of the dogs, I had no clue, and that's why we had to ask. So is there a motion to make the three of us, Mrs. Cook, Mr. Sager, and myself, the contact to the Middle River Club attorney?
I make the motion.
Is there a second?
So meaning things go to you?
Wouldn't it make more sense to have Gwendolyn or I be a contact as well?
Why?
Well, because the three of you represent one complex, whereas Gwendolyn and I represent other complexes.
It's not,
That's a good point.
Yeah,
we're
point-
voting
point
for the
taken.
health of the entire group.
You just want to limit the amount of people that have contact. But-
Yes.
but
He-
mo-
All I'm saying is it just doesn't seem right if the three people from River Shores are the contact people and the other two from other complexes are not involved in that.
You're involved.
You're very involved,
Yeah.
just
So-
not to
so-
contact the attorney.
So you're saying, I
Yeah.
still don't understand. So if we have questions about things, our law firm is not to contact your firm, you're saying contact you instead?
Well, nobody could well, if they're
Is
gonna
that-
file a suit or something, they should, because I'm playing the registered agent, so I should be the one to receive whatever. So the question is, when the legal bills keep coming in, this is not just the only one, I forgot there was something else that Mr. Caminetti contacted the attorney about that we wound up paying the bill for. So you wouldn't
He's
want...
not even on the board.
Yeah, could I ask you something? You wouldn't want me contacting Mr. Goldstein, right? Well, you would pay for it.
It is your option to contact Mr. Goldstein or anyone else you want.
Well, but you would pay for it. You wouldn't like paying for it, right?
No, we pay for it.
Such a nasty
I'm
I'm not
so
sure,
nasty.
What
I'm not
specifically
sure
are
if
we-
I would have to pay for it if your contact.
River Bend would pay for it.
He would ask who you were and whatever, and probably would not share any information with you unless you were willing to hire him.
Oh, no, I wouldn't want, why would I want him to share? No,
Then why
it's
would
not.
you?
Well, just to give him information so he can, whatever. The same way you wrote, you wanted the board minutes, right? So,
Correct.
Yeah.
right. So then he had to forward it to me, and then Mr. Caminetti wanted them.
What actually happened is that Gwendolyn and I did request the board minutes.
Uh-huh.
You basically felt there was no meeting, even though we were here for over 2 hours.
3 hours,
We felt there was a board meeting.
right.
You continued to refuse to give us the minutes, so we had no choice but to contact our attorney, contact your attorney, or the Middle River Club attorney, and request the minutes.
Okay. So we'll see what happens because of those minutes now. Anyway, I think you made a good point, Bruce, so I'll make a counterpoint, if I may. So River Shores pays the bulk of the bill at 63%, and that's really what it comes down to. So every time the attorney has to get involved, you know, there's always a different way. You're always free to file a complaint with the state or whatever, and that's a freebie, I think. And then the state would send a thing, and, you know, there's no cost to that. And you're always encouraged to do as you see fit with that. Anyway, I think the last we heard, there was a motion for the three of us, myself, Mr. Sager, and Mrs. Cook, to be the contact for the attorney. Is there a motion for that, or did we get past that?
I make a motion. for
Motion, is there a
continuing.
second?
I second the motion.
Call for the vote. Mr.
No.
Taransky? No. Mrs. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Wager?
No?
Mr. Sager?
Yes.
Mr. Rubio, yes. Okay. The insurance, this will be quick. We're in up the creek. I don't know what you all know. It's bad. It was not easy this year because the umbrella was not offered for Middle River Club, and River Shores, they did not even offer the renewal for the general liability. So finding a different agent, we were able to, or I was able, whatever, to find an umbrella for the $15 million, And these insurance costs are going up. The budget, which you have, but that's not on today's agenda, I was told, hang on, for the property, because that's coming due, I think, March 1st. So it's an estimate, but I'm letting you know, I don't know if your insurances have been under renewal, how bad you got it, I don't know.
It's
So,
up like 32%, I think.
yeah, it's up there. So we were told from River Shores on our property coverage, if it will be offered, 45%. So, and you're talking, that's another 100,000, but it may have to be switched. So, we're not there yet. What's wrong, Gwendolyn? Oh, okay. So that was just to bring that up.
So, quick question.
Yes,
So the updated budgeted amounts you sent us for next fiscal year?
correct.
Are those correct or are they estimated?
Well, all budgets are estimates.
Okay.
So I can't, you know how insurance works. I wrote this out for River Shores owners because they're getting their budget package. How it works is an insurance agent locks in the count. So to switch agents, you have to sign a letter of agency of some sort to switch it over. But you have to understand they lock the companies. So I don't know what we're going to hit as far as insurance. There's no way to tell. Usually, and I've done this a lot of years, not just here, but other businesses, and when the insurance is due, say on March 1st, you may get it, you're lucky, on February 27th. And then you have to hand them the check because you want the insurance if something happens. It's not a fun game. It was tough this year for the liability, I'll tell you. And Peg was there for a part of it. I mean, it was not easy. So
You take what you can get, that's what it comes down to.
that's a good way of putting it. You're going to take what you can get because the board is obligated to have it. So, and at a higher cost and probably for less insurance. So we're clear on that. The next issue is about Steve and Basil. This has become a political issue where it should just be a strictly business issue. They are paid in advance. So they get their checks on the 1st, and they are paid for that entire month. I sent you all the information. If you find an error, I will humbly apologize, but I do not want to hear any more about, well, they're owed, I don't want to hear it. I sat up in that office with Basil for a long time with Peg, and, okay, show me the error. Well, no, I believe, I think, I don't want to hear it anymore. So, that's it. If you find an error, great. I will humbly apologize before the entire community, and we will go from there. Okay, the next issue Peg came up with. So, Peg, do you want to discuss it? The tennis court.
The tennis court. The tennis court is not used very often. Sometimes it's used during the season, but not a whole lot. The city of Oakland Park has put in, can you hear me?
Now I can, yeah.
The city of Oakland Park has put in, I believe it's 5 brand new tennis courts. The city of Wilton Manors has maybe 8 or 10 tennis courts. And I just thought that we should, this is for discussion only, think about, would Riverbend be interested in buying the tennis courts for parking? Because they need parking there. They're always looking. They've got a nice apartment with only 1 parking spot. And what do the people think about that? I understand now is not a good time because they're,
Winter people are coming.
no, not only that, there's gonna be a big assessment because of the air conditions on the roof. So I don't think I think this is gonna be a very brief discussion because there's no funds available for something like that.
Isn't it also in our condo docs that we have to, I mean, we've offered, that's an amenity, it's a pool, it's a
Yes.
tennis court, so we
It would take
have
the
to.
vote of every resident in all 3 condos.
Oh,
to
Yeah,
do
that's
it.
what I thought,
Yeah.
80% or higher, correct?
No, 50%.
50%.
That's how we got the amendment to the Middle River Club documents passed. So Bruce, all this is, it's not a, you don't have to, it's an offering. So what would be included in this offering, so you understand, is you just heard that there would have to be a vote. So each association would have to get its residents, obviously River Shores being the bulk, would have to get that, I don't know, what is it, 314, half of whatever that is. So to change the amendment to, there would have to be obviously funds given for it.
162.
You have to, yeah, well, when you're thinking of everything, it's not always,
Well, you just said you didn't know the number, so I just gave you the number,
oh,
50%.
you are good.
I am,
I know you are.
right, and I know you know that.
Yeah, I do. But we'll see how good you really are. Anyway, you're obviously, you have to look in what would a second parking space for each unit be. I'm guessing it would amount to just that, maybe 35 spots. You would have to get the engineer, you would have to figure all that out. If it works, it makes sense for you. So I don't know if you all want to do it, but it's certainly an offering to consider. And then how it would work is it's a Middle River Club amenity. The nice thing is, I have no idea what it's worth, but let's say it's $1 million because we could do the math simple. You wouldn't have to pay $160,000 for it. It would be the difference of whether you get a loan or a special assessment, and then you have to figure out, is it worth it to the value? You got it. Okay, good. So that's it. Is that, the board have anything else? Because then we'll entertain questions.
What about the shuffleboard area? Nobody uses that?
Some people do.
I thought about that when I crossed over. Yeah,
Is that really, would you put parking there? I think it would be awkward.
Maybe make a dog run,
Yeah.
That would be better.
it would be better served than.
or you can put a hot tub there, nobody uses it, I mean, I'm here 10 years.
A lemonade stand.
I think I've seen one person use shuffleboard, 10 years.
Yeah,
Okay, so the board is done, so we're ready to entertain
I'm
questions.
sorry, I thought she was asking.
Oh, I'm
questions.
sorry, forgive
No,
me.
I thought Ms. Cook asked a question, I wasn't sure if that was open to
right,
the group or to
opinions,
just
what do
the
you
board.
think?
Oh.
Yeah.
I think that the amenities that the Middle River Club offered as part of this was part of the reason for buying it, and diminishing those assets impacts negatively the value of every single condo. So having the tennis courts, repurposing them as tennis and pickleball, which is a up-and-coming sport more so. I know Gwendolyn plays tennis and pickleball religiously. You know, those are things to consider. I mean, I know that there have been some issues with people taking their animals and walking them on the tennis court instead. If the discussion is, do we take up the shuffleboard courts versus, and put in a pet area? If that addresses some of the concerns, then folks who want to bring their pet to the pool would have a space where the animal could be adjacent and useful. I don't have an issue with that either way. There are concerns that have been raised that directly impact the value of every other individual's unit.
Okay, sir,
These
just
are-
for a point of clarification,
Yes.
because maybe you didn't hear. We can't just say, here, River Bend, here's the
I
park.
understand.
The people would have to vote for
Yeah,
it.
he's
I
speaking.
understand.
Correct.
I agree that, I
It's a
heard that.
discussion.
Yeah,
I
oh,
heard
so
that.
then
This was
it's,
a discussion that Ms. Cook opened, and I was
right.
trying to
So if
clarify.
the people didn't
How
vote for
everybody
it,
felt about it.
then
We're
you-
already putting the cart before the horse and telling them to go ahead and get drawings and everything else.
no.
To be
for-
clear, that's exactly what just happened.
Okay, so Bruce, you could talk to your people and see if there's any interest. There may be no interest,
Understood.
yeah, so we don't know until there's a response.
There may also be objection.
Correct,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
socializing these things is an important piece of how do we move things forward. So the animal piece, the tennis court piece, the shared use, the how do we as a community, all of us,
correct,
engage.
correct.
So
That's what the vote would be telling us.
understood, but
Yeah.
how we do this and how we have these discussions, being my first visit here, it's extremely contentious here rather than trying to find solutions.
Okay, you're entitled to
I see
that.
that, and I see people dug in and camped in their viewpoint.
Correct.
You mentioned that River Terrace is 67%, but 100% of the who can contact the lawyers. I think that's an imbalance.
Correct.
I hear a lot of issues in the room. I want to make sure that, I've heard this for an entire year, okay? I know what the laws are.
Okay.
I looked into it specifically. I'm not employed down here in Florida, but I am an expert on environmental health. And I've talked nationally and internationally. So I'm trying as a resident here and a community member to make sure that we don't encourage substantial financial risks by allowing a legal opinion that really doesn't say anything, because I've dealt with the emotional support versus service animal issue. There is no national registered emotional support criteria, agency, anything that could say that this is an emotional support animal. There is no certification process. None. So the lawyer saying we would like your opinion on this when you've already had the federal and state opinion on it, and then spending time and aggravation for everybody to get the answer that you want and ignore the legal opinion that was already served. That's
Right.
what I'm seeing going on
And you know the
here
beauty of
on
it,
all
sir?
these levels.
That's a lot of, it's
That's
not
a lot.
question. But you know what? I want to personally thank you, but ultimately, the decision's been made. So, the best way to resolve it is, the best way, yeah, the
To
decision's.
get a response from the other lawyer to that question.
Right,
That was the context. So this was the discussion
right. The
period.
River Bend, River Terrace attorney did not respond. Therefore,
Lack of a response is a response.
right, it means that the Middle River Club attorney is correct.
You can ask.
No, I'm not going to ask anything.
No,
We're
I
going to
mean,
let
say,
it go. I have better
other
things to do with
people
my
here. I
time.
understand that. I was not finished speaking though.
Incessantly.
Welcome to what a question and answer session is, and I'm allowed to speak once I'm recognized. And I was recognized, and I have not yielded the floor yet.
That's right, let him speak, I agree.
I have not
Yes.
yielded the floor yet. I was recognized by the chair. And
Okay,
I'm going to talk
okay,
about it.
keep talking,
Thank you.
Babble.
Yes, so.
Would
well,
you
we've talked about
please
a lot
stop
of
that?
pieces.
We're trying to
We've
have a
talked
group-
about a lot of pieces, and community engagement is a piece of this. I want to see how we can move this forward, because there's a lot of contention in here,
Yes.
okay?
This is your first meeting, you admitted that.
This is my
Yes.
first meeting.
Thank you for coming. Do you want to go back? Peg, you're here, what, 30 years? Or, and I'm back here 30 years. Do you want to discuss 30 years?
So.
You don't have
Oh,
the
you want to
floor.
hear about erectile
I'm concerned
dysfunction?
with that. What I'm saying
I
is,
don't want to hear it again.
I speak on community engagement nationally.
Oh, well,
Okay, I've written chapters on it. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, there's a lot of issues here that we have valid points on. We have got to get to a point where we can have a civil conversation about it as community members. I'm okay with however a board votes. I agree with that. How you all do this is important, but I've heard for the last year about all of this incessant and blah, 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 about all these things, and people not participating in these meetings, and then complaining about the outcomes.
well,
I'm
there's a
here.
big part of the problem. I'll tell you what the big part of. River Shores, we did not write the condo docs. We will always have 3 votes.
Understood?
And that has, well, some people are not happy with that. So even prior, so again, because this is your first meeting, so you do not know all the prior, we'll only go back 5. There were quite a few olive branches, and, you know, it just didn't work out. It doesn't matter the why or whatever. So now, at least, neutral now, take into consideration, it just did not start today because you arrived.
Believe
Just
me, I
understand.
understand.
Okay, so the next one. Who is next on the line?
I was.
Oh, okay.
I want to thank you for finally getting the paving done in the parking lot. I would suggest before you put the new bushes down, you put a second coat of paint on the white paint job on the strips and the backboard, because the asphalt is starting to show through the white paint. You might want to take a look at it, but it's a wonderful job. and
I
it's a
had a
wonderful-
conversation with
I
him
haven't finished.
before
It's a
he did
wonderful
the
job,
paint.
and thank you for taking care of it.
Good.
Okay, can I just comment on that? Can somebody look at this? I'm glad this was inspected. Are you the inspector?